This is a breakdown of voters, not you, voters. And you had 10 GMs, 5 head coaches, 10 coordinators, 10 senior personnel executives, 5 quarterback coaches, 10 others with job titles ranging from assistant coach to salary cap manager to analytics director. So all of the voters, correct? You were not a voter in this.
Not a voter, not an influencer. Just, hey, guys, tell me. Let me learn.
So walk through the process. Then you go to these guys and say, I want your thoughts on these quarterbacks. How does it work?
Yeah, basically, I'll have a list of the 32 veteran starting quarterbacks, and I'll have them in order of alphabetical by their names. So let's just say you're a head coach for a team. Hey, coach, good to see you again. Quarterback tier season, you know how it is. Tier 1 carries his team every week. The unanimous guys the last few years have been Brady and Rodgers. They're unanimous tier 1, but some other guys get some tier 1 votes as well. Curious if you think anyone else belongs in that category. Tier 2, a notch below. You're definitely going to win with them. Maybe he's a little less consistent, has a hole in his game. Tier 3, legitimate starter. He's going to make a lot of money, but he's going to need a lot more help from his defense and run game. And so if they're stumped, I might say, well, Andy Dalton's gotten a lot of tier 3s in the past. You may think he's a 2. 4 could be someone who hasn't played. Maybe you're just not comfortable to say that I'm all in on Patrick Mahomes. You can put him in a 4. It's sort of a placeholder for next year. Or you could say, hey, you know what, at this point, I think Josh McCown is a 4. He's not really a 3 anymore. We know what he is. I'm going to put him there. And a 5 would be like, you shouldn't be a starter. So that's rare. A few guys might get a 5 here or there, but no one actually finished in the 5th tier.
So obviously the names at the top of the list are going to surprise really no one. Aaron Rodgers and Tom Brady pacing the field. Was there anyone in that tier 1 group of guys, the ones that are really the elite quarterbacks, as much as we kind of joke about that word, was there anyone in there that surprised you still at this stage of the game, or anything about the makeup of that group?
Yeah, I would say not surprised, but I was very interested to see if people would still put Roethlisberger in that top tier. I think he plays like a tier 1 quarterback sometimes, almost like if you're playing him in a playoff game, you're scared to death because he can do it. But I don't think he does it as consistently as Brady and Rodgers do. There's games, especially on the road, he hasn't played well. Last year, they went 0-2 against Jacksonville. He had the 5-pick game. Yet he came in with the exact same split of votes as a year ago, 30 in the first tier, 20 in the second tier. So people still feel he's there. But I think everyone admits he's not as consistent as those top 2 guys.
Brees and Roethlisberger are so interesting to me because we're putting them just below that top tier, but they're really in arguably the best situations in the NFL. Yeah. Just when you turn looking at the weaponry around them, even the offensive lines as well. Brees, we talked about a little bit earlier, how he was so consistent last year, but the entire offense changed around him. So he did have that unbelievably high completion percentage, but he was throwing shorter throws, leaning more on Kamara, Thomas, the run game. So it'll be interesting to see how that evolves. The one that I wanted to ask you about, Mike, the one that surprised me was Andrew Luck. Still squeaking into tier 2.
Yep.
I don't have the exact number in front of me. And that one, obviously, that's based on past performance.
Yep.
I think people forget that 2016, Andrew Luck was actually incredible despite the team's lack of failure. Or the team's failure. He took a big step forward as a quarterback, in my opinion. Do you feel like that's just what these guys are leaning on, 2016? I mean, because, we're talking about a guy who we have not seen thrown regulation. We haven't even seen him throw like one of those fetchits you use with a dog. Like, we don't know what to expect from Andrew Luck. Why do you think he was able to?
I think a lot of people would, just kind of said, look, I don't know what to do with him. I mean, I haven't seen him play, but until I see him play poorly and until I see the Colts sign somebody that's going to be the starting quarterback, I'm going to trust that he'll be okay. And so as this was being written, we got the word that he was cleared for training camp, and so I added that in there. But I do think he was a tough one for a lot of people. Some guys were like, he's almost a 4 right now. You almost start over as unproven because we haven't seen him throw since the surgery. It's not just coming back, it's coming back to that level. So I think we're all still waiting to see for sure what he's going to be.
We're talking to Mike Sando, ESPN.com senior writer. You can check out the article. He just tweeted it out also. You can follow him at Sando ESPN. So the number 6 quarterback on this list was Russell Wilson. That doesn't surprise me. There's a line about the number 7 quarterback where you say there's no meaningful separation between these two, between Russell Wilson and this person in terms of voting breakdown. And they had the same number of tier 1 votes. The person they tied with is Matthew Stafford. And I think that's surprising to a lot of people. As good as Matthew Stafford is in production, the Lions typically are not very good. So did it surprise you to see him ranked as high as Russell Wilson, essentially?
No, he's about where he was last year. The difference is, Andrew Luck's not ahead of him anymore. But what's so interesting to me, the thing I've learned the most really from doing this for 5 years is you don't really get your due in the NFL until you've had to try to win without great support around you. And so people always wondered, why wasn't Russell Wilson higher when he had the historically number one defense and a great running back that everyone defended in Marshawn Lynch? Well, because they wanted to see what he could do when it wasn't as good around him. And last year, what did he do? He basically had a Matthew Stafford type of season where the run game wasn't there. The defense was okay, but not great. And they went 9-7, losing the last game of the year at home to Arizona. That's exactly what life's been like for Matthew Stafford for 9 years. They haven't had a good defense. When did they have a good running game? They have had it all on him to a degree that almost no one's had. So, there's a few people that would say, hey, I think he's a tier one guy, and it would be interesting to see him on a team that was actually average or better. I think most people see that there are some holes there, and there is some inconsistency there. But how many games would they win without him? If you just randomly plugged in somebody who's lower than him in this poll or someone from third tier, are they a team that goes to 4 wins? I think you can make that case. The guy set a record in 2016 for the most fourth quarter comeback wins, 8 in the history of the league. So there's something good there. He's not I wouldn't necessarily put him a 1, but I think he's fine where he's at.
I miss the Cardiac Cats from that year. That was a fun season to watch those guys, which you don't often get to say about the Lions, as I can attest knowing some great Lions fans. But I think with him, too, it's kind of hard to ignore the visual and the leadership aspects of Matthew Stafford that always kind of shine through. He's that guy that's kind of got that Brett Favre personal quality to him that I think, especially inside league circles, is kind of endearing. I mean, player to player, you look at that and certainly feel motivated by it.